this is the third time I've tried to do this morning. I tried to do it while I was getting ready because I thought that would be safer than driving, just because well, you are joining me on my acupuncture journeys. So I'm trying again, and hopefully this time it will work. I didn't want to do while driving because I always have issues trying to get off the whatever it's called, to stop the stream. I always have issues trying to stop it, but if I'm doing it early, I know where I'm going this bit, so it should be all right. Okay, so for the third time, let's go. So the other day, I woke up in the morning and I was thinking about Israel, but not because of all the bullshit that's going on, not because of all the geopolitical crap, but it was the word that was in my head when I woke up. And it wasn't like, Israel with regards to Netanyahu, the heifers, it was just nothing. It was just the word was in my head, right? And when my brain kind of repeated the word, it didn't just say it all in one go. It said it like really slowly in three parts. The first word I had was Israel. I was just like, wait, what? No. And if you've been kind of knocking around with me for a while, we've discussed Ra, we've discussed El, and we've discussed El as it pertains to the Jewish text. Oh my gosh, somebody literally just tried to run me off the road. Let's get out of this person's way before they try and kill us. So we discussed Ra, we discussed El, right? So the only thing I needed to figure out was the is. Like, what does the is mean? And so in my head, I just let it percolate. So the reason why I let it percolate rather than hunted for it, because if I hunt for it, then I'm using my conscious mind. It will end up being a shit show, right? So this is why I listen to the things that I get first thing in the morning, because the information you get first thing in the morning is the kind of answers to the questions that you've been asking for without your conscious mind getting in the way. And I didn't even know I was asking this question, right? I must have just kind of like randomly asked it at some point. And, the universe obliges. So, but while I was kind of getting ready this morning, of which, FYI, I'm like 40 minutes late to meet my mum, as per usual. So as I was getting ready this morning, it came to me, it's Latin, right? It must be Latin, it must be Roman, it must be connected to the whole Great Redaction, 380 AD, after Christ was born, when the Romans installed the first pope, and they did their mass land grab, and they did the first major rewrite of the Bible, and obviously so that was Roman, so therefore Latin. And so I kind of jumped onto an AI, a rando AI, Leo, who is the Brave search engines AI, just so you know where I got it from. And I typed in mean in Latin, like as in the word, as in like if what do the IS letters mean rather than the word? What does the IS letters mean in Latin? And it means to be. Well, the same as like English, but I wanted to double check, right? Because I didn't want to kind of assume anything, because I love this phrase, assumptions is like, it's the ass of you and me, right? I love that, right? So I didn't want to assume, I wanted to just confirm. So when we bear in mind that is in Latin, in Roman speak, is to be, same as kind of English. Ra is the Egyptian sun god, and if you on my Telegram channel, and even if you've watched a few of my vids from before I was removed from the internet, we discussed Ra quite a bit. And I highly recommend you read the Law of One stuff. And yes, the people who created it or made it were part of the CIA, MK Ultra, attempting to understand. And not all MK Ultra experiments were abusing children, right? They did lots of stuff with regards to, they were just trying to make super soldiers, and that includes understanding telepathy, understanding remote viewing, all of that stuff. And that's where the law of one peeps kind of throw in. But they did an interview saying that while they were working for the CIA and as part of whichever university it was they were working at, they did the kind of group meditations and meetings, and they never had anybody come through. So the actual results of the experiments were a failure. It was long after they left that, did they just think, you know what, let's just give it a go, have a go. Let's see whether we can do it. And then they did. Well, that's the story behind it. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But actually, the books were written in the 80s, like early 80s, 80, 81, 82. And a lot of the stuff from there, like, that shit came true. Like, a lot of it came true and all was real. And so whether it was predictive programming, I mean, I don't know. Right, but it's still, you should still be watching like things like BBC News and shit like that to understand what they're trying to do. So I still urge you to go and kind of listen to them, read them, however you want to digest the information. But aside from that, Ra, the sun god, Egyptian sun god, then we've got El, which is Elohim. But so the single El is like the god above the gods, right? So there's Elohim and Elohims. And so El is the one god out of like all of them. So that is in like, I mean, the Bible, so the Old Testament Bible is not the same as the Torah at all, right? There's lots of passages that are completely different. I mean, in the Torah, you find out that Jesus was he was sentenced for sorcery. That's what he was convicted of. He was convicted of sorcery. And there's a whole, Jesus' testimony where he's saying, well, if I'm a sorcerer, so was Moses, so was Abraham, so was Adam, right? And that whole testament's available, his statement's available, but you don't read that in the Old Testament, right? And by sorcery, he just was able to manipulate and manifest, right? All the shit that we're trying to do now, he was just really fucking good at it. Anyway, so El is Elohim. So basically, the word Israel means Ra, the sun god, is to be the one god of the Jews, right? So why is that important? Why does that make sense? Why did that click? So Moses, right? Who was he? Right, everybody talks about, he did all these amazing things. He freed the Jewish people, all of this stuff, right? But he was raised as an Egyptian pharaoh, prince, right? So he was raised as an Egyptian prince. Egyptian royalty got to do one of two things. They were either military leaders, and that's what the actual Egyptian prince was raised as. He was raised as a military leader. Or they were initiated and raised as the priests. So you were either military or you were a priest. Oh yeah, my phone's overheating, and it always does in the car. So he was raised as an Egyptian priest, which means he was initiated into the Egyptian rites, which means he spent at least 3 days in the king's chamber of the Giza pyramid, the same as Pythagoras and Plato. Like all of those people went to Egypt. They were initiated into the Egyptian rites, which is why you find a lot of the Egyptian ceremonies throughout the Bible, like both Old and New Testament. And if you kind of, for all you Catholics out there, the whole drinking the blood of Christ, that is an Egyptian right with regards to you drink the blood of your enemies because you've conquered them. So hence Romans 380 installed the Pope, right? And then they started drinking Jesus's blood. Like, Jesus wasn't a cannibal. Anyway, so that's why you see lots of Egyptian stuff all through it. Now the Romans were really into sun gods, and obviously they had like Mars and all of those, but actually they also really heavily there's lots of like sun god worship. And so now who's the sun god? It's Lucifer, right? The light bringer, the light bearer. So nothing's changed. It's just the same old, right? But they just package it slightly differently. But I wanted to kind of just jump on and talk about that, because this is what makes Israel even more important geopolitically, right? So ignoring the fact that America owns it, and it was an American kind of, I mean, obviously Winston Churchill was the one who kind of put the treaty through, but he was owned because he was an alcoholic, right? So he was being blackmailed by the US, which is why they fucked us over at the Balfour Treaty or Balfour Agreement. I can't remember. I'm supposed to be driving and paying attention to the road. Which is why we got fucked after World War II, right? So anything that was kind of going on in the UK was done by proxy. So we were owned. But so Israel was always just about a land treaty. But the name Israel, because the name of Israel appears before, and then they were moved back there, right? So basically what happened, in my opinion, after World War II is the Egyptian royalty, which are, the you might want to call them reptilians. They're not. They're just they're Nephilim, right? They're the more they're the alien human hybrids. So when you look at Cro-Magnon, like Cro-Magnon descendants, right? Alien human hybrids. The Egyptian royalty were white with red hair. And all the Egyptian mummies were white with red hair. Same as the ancient Chinese mummies are tall, white, red hair. So they were the royalty, and like actual royalty rather than the fake pseudo royalty we have right now. And they've just kind of been like decades of interbreeding, or centuries of interbreeding. Anyway, so what happened after World War II was they were literally just saying, right, okay, so we own you again, right? That's it, tough shit. We're bringing about end of days, because we can either bring about it by all being good and lovely and exciting, and you find this out in the Ra books, so they talk about the harvest, they talk about you need to be 51% good, or you need to be 95% bad, and all the baddies, they're going like 95% bad route. And Roseanne did an episode, Roseanne Barr's show, I think it was the most recent episode, where she talks about this, right? The Messiah, you can be brought back in one of two ways. Either everybody does good stuff, or or they do like bad stuff, so they come to rescue. Like that's their plan. When you kind of ask, well, why do they do all this horrific shit? It's because that's the path they picked. We live in a dualistic universe, a 3D Earth, either good or bad. Like there's no such thing as either. It's all energy, right? I'm sorry, it's vibrating lots there. It's all energy. It just is. That's the path they chose. And once you kind of go down that path, you can't turn back at all. And there was an interview with the guy who started the Temple of Set, Michael Aquino, right? The guy who everyone said was a shill because he came out against Max Spears, and then him and Max Spears made up, and he ended up in prison for defamation. My mind's where he's talking about Michael Aquino, and he's saying the reason why they sacrifice the children is because they are fulfilling what they believe is prophecy, and they have to ensure the bigger bad doesn't come, right? So there's multiple different channels of people saying the same thing, and this is how I kind of figure out what's perhaps more true, right? So why can't I remember that fucking guy's name? I don't know. Anyway, so he's saying it, Roseanne is saying it, Ra's saying it, they're doing it, and also like there's loads of other books that are saying it, but that's why Israel's important. It's because it's reaffirming the Egyptian royalty, and then this is why Trump's very first kind of meeting with Netanyahu was important, because Trump literally just told the world and told the Egyptian bloodline royalty who have enslaved us all. And then if you want to know more, it's linked to the Orion group, and Orion being the bad 4-degree aliens who keep trying to harvest humans and all of those things. this shit. Like, I've been talking about this for years. So it's bad aliens, bad people, bad aliens. So Trump literally just said, no, you can't have us. You can't have the planet. We're back in control. You cannot do this shit anymore. It's game over, right? And that was the whole saving Israel for last. It's not about the place. It's about what the name means, what the name stands for, and what actually went on. Anyway, I'm about to turn off and go on a road where I need to pay attention. So hopefully you enjoyed that little kind of rando convo. Give us a shout if you got any comments, and I will